Hi, this is Abby Kadabi, and today I'm going to talk about using stitched-based fonts in Embird Editor. A stitched-based font is like any other embroidery design that you would purchase. Each letter is individually digitized to a specific size, and they're sold by numerous websites on the internet. So let's go ahead and get started. And a lot of people complain about when they use stitch-based fonts that they have to bring in each letter individually. Well, that's not true. You can bring in a whole group of letters at one time, and then you can quickly reorder them in the correct alphabetical order, and you can align them fairly simply. So I'm going to go to File, I'm going to go to Merge, and I am going to go to my folder that I contain my alphabets in. And then I'm going to go down to my Stitchtopia folder and open this font called Abbey Road. Now this is a script font, and so what I'm going to do is I want to bring in the letters to spell Abby Kadabi. So I'm going to click on the capital A, and then I'm going to hold down my control button, and I'll click on the capital C for Kadabi, and I'm going to go down to the lowercase letters now, and I'm going to need an A, a B, a D, and a Y. So I have my letters, and they show up in the object pane window here on the right as 6 separate objects, but on my work table, they're just a big jumbled mess. So what I need to do is to select each letter in the object pane window and pull it into my work table. So I'm going to click on the A, and then I'll bring that over here, and I'll click on the B, lowercase b, and I'm going to put that there. And now, because my name has two B's, I'm going to do a copy and paste. So I'm going to click on copy and paste, and here's my second B, and I'll stick it up like that. And then I need my Y, and so I'm going to bring in the Y, and I'll put that down here like so. And then my C, I'll bring it over here, and I need my lowercase a, and there's my D, and then the rest of the letters I'm going to just copy and paste. So I have my A again, and I'm going to copy, paste, and I'll bring it down here, kind of like that. And I need another B, so I'll do a copy and paste, and I'll bring that one down here, and I'll put it up like that. And because I already have the B on the clipboard, I just need to paste a second time. So bring that one down there. And the Y. Copy and paste. So I have all my letters here, and I purposely put them so that they were all jiggity and jaggedy. Normally I would try to get them a little straighter than this, but for this video, I wanted to have them way off the baseline. So the first thing I want to show is I'm going to select my A, and then I'm going to hold my shift button down and select my Y. And I want to show you in Stitch Simulator that I don't want to leave the letters in this order, because when it stitches out, even though it looks correct on my work table, when it stitches out and I use the sew simulator, it's going to jump all over. It's going to do the A, the C, and then it jumps back up to there. So you're going to have jump stitches running all over this design, which would not be satisfactory to me or you. And the other thing, and I don't know if it did it in this design, yes, if you look at the B, oops, I'm going to pause this. Let me go back in another view. If I go into 3D Mat and you look at this B, right here, you see this tail is stitching on top of the Y. This tail should be underneath the Y, like it is down here in this example. So this is incorrect. So that needs to be fixed. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to reorder my letters, and I do that in my Objects Order panel. So I already have my A as my first object, and so I need a B, any one of these B's to be my second object. So I'm going to click on this one, and it happens to be that one. And so I'm going to hold my left mouse button down, and I'm going to scroll it up, and it's going to, and then I dropped it on top of the C, and I'm going to click Insert Before Object. So now I have my A and my B as objects 1 and 2. So I have a second B, and I'm going to guess that it's this one, and it is. My selection box tells me I have selected the right one. So again, I'm going to left click on the B. I'm going to hold my mouse button down. I'm going to bring it up to the C. You can see my mouse changed to an arrow, and it's dragging a little piece of paper with it. When I get to the C, I'm going to let up on my left mouse button, and this window pops up, and I want to insert the B before the letter C. I want it in the third spot. So now I have my B in the third spot. And I'm going to do that with the Y. And again, I'm going to bring it up on top of the C and insert before. And just as luck would have it, the rest of the letters, C, A, D, A, B, B, Y, are in the correct alphabetical order. I do want to make sure that my B and B are in the right order. And now when I go back and look at this B in Abby, where the tail was on top of the Y, it's no longer on top of the Y. It is sticking out a little bit from the Y, so I might want to take that Y and just move it over a little bit to hide that tail. Okay, so now I'm going to go back to my sew simulator, and it's going to sew out, and it's sewing in a much more organized fashion, and you won't have tons of jump stitches. So now that I've done that, I want to straighten up this baseline. And most people think that you have to move each letter individually, and that's not true. You can select, I'm going to select my ABBY, so I'm going to go to my order panel, and I'm going to click on the A, left click on the A. I'm going to hold my shift button down and come down to the Y for Abby, and I now have a selection box around my name. I'm going to use my align tool here on my design toolbar. And so to use the align tool, you have to have a minimum of 2 objects selected. So I have 4 objects selected, the A, the B, the second B, and the Y. So I'm going to click on my align tool, and I want to align the bottom of these letters. So I come over here, and I go under vertical, and here's bottom. So think of your letters moving vertically up and down so that they all aligned across the bottom. Now I will tell you that the Y is not going to align properly because it's going to align at the bottom of the Y. Any letter that has a portion of the letter that extends below the baseline, it always looks at the very bottom of that letter. So a letter like a G or a J, a Y, there's a few others, but they're not coming to me right away. But anyways, I'm going to click bottoms, and I'm going to click OK. And you notice that my A, my B, and my B are perfectly aligned. But my Y still needs a little bit of work. So I'm going to click outside of the selection box, and I'm just going to select the Y. And then I'm going to bring a guideline down. And I just go up to my rulers, and I grab my guideline. I'm holding my left mouse button down, and I'm going to bring it down till it's just under my other letters there. And I'm going to go to normal view, and I'm going to zoom way in so I can see. So I'm going to zoom way in so I can see how these letters are looking against this guideline. And it looks like the bottom of the B's and the A are just skimming that guideline. So when I look at my Y and I bring it down, I want to do the same thing with the curve on the Y. So I think that's probably about perfect right there, pretty close. Nobody's going to get you if you're a fraction of a millimeter off. So now when I look at my word, everything is straight on this guideline. So I could do the same with Kadabi, and this time I'm not going to select the Y, and so I have my letters, and so I'm going to go to Align, and I'm going to align the bottoms, and so then again they looked fairly well aligned. And this Y happens to be fairly close, but it's not quite. So I'm going to bring this guideline down. I'm going to deselect my selection box, bring this guideline down, and zoom in so that I can see where I'm putting it. And so I have it right about there. And so I'll select my Y, and I'll bring it up again so that these stitch points at the very bottom of the loop in the Y is just skimming that line, and so I would be happy with that there. So again, my letters are fairly evenly spaced. I might want to adjust this A. I think it's sitting a little bit far away from the D. So I'm going to click on the A in Kadabi, and instead of trying to move it with my cursor, because if I move it with my cursor, I might accidentally move it either a little bit vertically or vertically up or down. So instead, I'm going to hold down my shift button, and then I'm going to use my arrow keys on my keyboard. There's 4 arrow keys, one pointing up, one pointing down, and one pointing east and one pointing west. So I want to um, use the arrow key that's pointing to the right, which would be, well, in my case, north, but um, I want to um, use the one pointing to the right, and I'm just going to keep tapping it, and you see my A is moving closer to my D. And so that might be a little too close, so I'll nudge it back a couple clicks. And then I can also adjust my C the same way. Oops, I got both letters. And that's I shouldn't have done that because it selected both, and I selected it from the work table instead of selecting it from the objects order panel. So that's another reason why you should always select your letters from the object order panel. And I need to move that A back a couple clicks. Okay, so anyway, so there I have my names, and they look pretty good. And so the next thing I want to do before I join my letters is I want to look at the density of this design, because I know I have all these tails going underneath the different letters. So I'm going to come down to my density tab, and when I look at my density, I can see that I have some hot spots here. Um, Especially like where these tails are coming into the A and the D and this A and a little bit on this B. You got a little bit here and a little bit here. These tails don't extend under as far, but you have some right here. So I'm going to go select all my letters. So I'll go to the selection box, and I'm going to go to edit, and I'm going to go to stitches, and then I'm going to go to mask. And so I usually keep my pull compensation around zero point 0.4. And this is, I think of it as how much of my tail of each one of these letters is going to be remaining under my letter. I don't want to cut away so much of this tail then that my letters don't connect and I have a space between them. So zero point 0.4 seems to work okay. So I'm going to click OK, and now you notice that the tails of these letters were trimmed away. They're no longer there, and the bright yellow and orange areas have disappeared between the letters. So I'm going to go back to 3D map view, and when I look at this, I don't really see much difference. My letters still look pretty good, but if I click on the C, I could move the C in Kadabi and bring it out, and you can see that it's been trimmed. The original C looks like this, and this is the one that was trimmed by using the skew. You can see how much of that tail was cut off. So I'm going to put that back where it was. Actually, the easiest way would be to do an undo. So I'm just going to undo, and that puts my C right back where it was, and I don't have to try to get it exactly back into position. Now that I have my words exactly the way I want them, each letter is still an individual object and can be moved independently of all the other objects. So I could take this B and I could move it, or I could take this Y and move it, because these are all individual objects. They're like individual designs. And so I'm going to remove that guideline, and I'm going to grab this Y and see I could move it and put it wherever I want. So I want to combine these two words so they become just Abby becomes one object and Kadabi becomes one object. So I'm going to click on my A, and I'm going to go down to my Y and Abby, and I'm going to hold down my shift button, and I'm going to click my Y, and so now I just have ABBY selected. It's in the selection box, and I'm going to come up and click on my join icon. And so now when I look in my objects order panel, my word Abby is just one object. So I'm going to do the same with Kadabi. And again, I'm going to click join. And so now I only have two objects in my objects panel. So now I can move these around, and each letter moves in sync with the rest of the word. So then there's things that you can do to play around with these designs, and different ways that you can set them up. So I'm going to just start with the easiest, and so that would be to center them vertically in the center of the hoop. So to do that, I'm going to click on Abby, and I'm going to click on my center horizontal icon, and it just moves it horizontally, but it did not move it vertically. So if I move and I want Kadabi about there, maybe in the spacing, but I want it centered directly under Abby, then I would click that horizontal icon again. And so now I have them, and I could join them and then put them in the center if I wanted. I could do a select all. They're not joined, but I could still move them to the center, and that would put them in the center of my hoop. Now let's say I wanted something a little different, and I have my Abby over here, and I need a little bit more space, I think. And so I have these two, and I want them to be perfectly aligned, one right after the other. And I'm going to select a little bit larger hoop. And so I will select probably this one, probably big enough for what I want to do, more than big. And so I have my two words here, and I have one above this horizontal center, and this one's kind of sitting on it, so I'll move it away. So I'm going to come to my align vertically, except I want these a little closer. Let me move this over here. So I'm going to come to my align vertically button, and I have Abby selected, so I'm going to click that, and it will move it vertically to the center line. And if I select Kadabi, it will move it to the center line vertically. And then I could use my nudge feature, where I could hold down my shift button. In this case, I'm going to, again, nudge it to the right. So I could just, by holding it down, I'm not tapping it, I'm holding it down. It just walks right up, and I can stop it where I think is a good spacing between the two words. And if I bring down my guideline and put it right under the words, you can see that they're all on the exact same plane, and one's not higher than the other, and one's not running downhill, and all the letters are nice and straight. So another thing you can do is, if you want to align words, you can use the align feature. And so you have to have at least two objects to use the align feature. And so when you have them both selected, then this align tool becomes available. So I'm going to click on that. And so right now I want to align the left sides of my words. So left sides is under horizontal. So the designs are going to move horizontally and the left sides will be um, perfectly one right after the other. I also have the choice of aligning them. Oh, I don't have two objects selected. That's why my icon's not available. I can align them to the left so the back sides are equal, such as, oh, I'm, I aligned to the right. I'm sorry. So I'm going to, well, I'll just leave it like that because they're selected. And so now I want to align the right sides. So I'm going to click right. And so now the right sides became selected. Now, if I brought in a third word, and I would merge in my letters for the third word, and so I'm going to merge L, and I'm holding down my control button to select these letters individually. So I brought in the word loves, and so now I'm going to straighten out these letters. And when you're moving smaller letters like this, you have to be careful because sometimes you really want to grab inside of the selection box, not on the edge of the selection box, because if you kind of grab it like that, what's going to happen is you're going to resize your letter. And so you don't want to do that. And I've made that mistake on occasion. So I want to be inside the selection box. And so I can rewrite my word here, and I'm not going to be super precise about this. And so that's close enough for what I want to do. Okay, and then I will get my letters in the right order. So again, left click, hold your mouse button down, bring it up to the letter that you want to place it before, and you can, and so now and then I'm going to join my letters. And I'm going to come up and join them. So now I have three words in my work table. And so I'm going to put this kind of over here and this over here. And so I'm going to select all three words and I'm going to use my align tool. And I'm going to say, I want to align the centers horizontally. So I'm going to click on center. And so I'm going to click OK. And so it moved all the letters and it doesn't look like it. And I'd have to really measure, but I think what's skewing this off a little bit is this tail on the Y and the upper swoop of the B makes the distance look different. And so if you look here to this A and you look from the bottom of the D, and if I actually had a measuring tool, I could measure that, but it would be equal. But that's equal according to a ruler, but I don't think it looks visually equal. So what I would probably do is use my shift button and I would tab this down a little bit and I'd eyeball it. And to me, that looks more visually equal. It's not perfect, but it's more visually equal than the other setup. So then the next thing I wanted to show you is if I select everything, I could come to my align tool and I could um, I'm trying to decide what I want to do. I'm going to move my letters first. So I have them all selected. And so now I come to my tools. And so I could align the tops. And so now all the tops are aligned. And so easy way of doing things. If you wanted to make a, say a box, I could bring in another word. I hope I got all the letters for flowers. Oh, and see, I made a mistake. Instead of using the merge, I used the open command. And so now it's telling me, do I want to save this design? And I'm not done working on it. So I'm going to cancel this. And I'm going to come back to my file. And I'm going to click merge this time. And so I'm going to have to reselect all my letters again. Sorry. But, just shows that you can, you don't have to finish what you're doing. You can just cancel. Okay, so now I have all my letters for flowers. And again, I'm going to just string them out here. And so I will just reorder them here. Yeah, okay, and I'm going to join my letters together. And I'm going to, okay. So now I want to make a design that is a square or a rectangle. And so what I want to do is have Abby Cadabby at the top and the bottom and loves flowers on the sides. So I'm going to click on Abby. And the first thing I want to do is I want to bring it up as high as I can in this hoop. And I just want to center it here. So I'm going to use the center horizontal. And then I'm going to do the same with Cadabby. If I scroll down, you can see this was centered in the hoop. And so I'm going to bring it down as far as I can without being outside of the hoop. And I'm going to, again, center horizontal. And then on flowers, I'm going to use these rotate 90-degree icons. And so flowers is going to be here. So I want to rotate my design toward the left. So that would be this icon. And so it turns up and then I can bring it there. And then loves, I want it to rotate to the right. So that would be rotate right. And so now I'm going to bring that here. And now I want these two words to be centered vertically. So I'm going to use the center vertically and it moves it. And it moves it again. And so now I have a nice little frame and I could bring in another design. So I'm going to merge another design. And I'm going to go down to my flower folder. And I've been working on a little design for a shirt, so I made up this design. And I think it'll work perfect for this. So I have my And so now I think my word loves is a little bit too far away. So I'm just going to click on it, but I know it's centered. So I'm just going to hold down my shift button. And this time I'm going to move the word loves to the left. And so I just bring it in. And I might do the same with flowers. And this time I'm going to move it again. This time I'm moving it to the right. But I have to be careful that it doesn't impact the word Kadabi. So it makes a nice little frame for what you want to do. Another thing you could do, I'm going to right now hide the word flowers. I'm not deleting it, so I just don't want it on the work table. So I'm going to move my little flowers off to the side, and I'm going to rotate this back so I can just rotate it so it's the correct way. And I need to reorder my saying, so I'm going to put this here and this here. And so then I'm going to select Abby Loves, and I want to have all my letters even on the right side. So I'm going to use the align tool. And so I'm going to align the right sides. So I'm going to click OK. And since this is all selected, I can center this in the hoop. And now I'm going to grab my little flowers design, and I could put that right up next to that. And that's another way you could make this into another design with very little effort. Now, I want to get a little bit more clever, and I don't like this blue lettering against my flowers. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the color chips in the flowers to recolor the letters in my wording. And so I want my first word to be this purple. So Abby's going to be this purple. So I'm just going to left click on the purple color chip and hold my mouse button down and drag it up to this Pacific blue color. And I'm going to click set identical. And now my color is the same color. And I want my Kadabi to be this lime green. So I'm going to do that. And again, hold the left and then click identical. And then the orange will be the last word. And it said oops, I hit it instead of, okay, so there I have that. And I think my word loves is too low. So I would click on that and I would hold my shift button down. And this time I'm going to use my up arrow key and I'm going to bring it up. And I can just hold it. It'll bring it up. And I'll bring Abby down. And so that's how my design would turn out. The letters are more appropriate space for the size of this design. And so there's just a lot of things that you can do with this. I mean, you can take different letters, just pull out the A, and you could rotate them. You could, I mean, if you were working on a design and you wanted them at like a 45-degree angle, you can do that. Or you can free rotate it if you know, want it to go the other way. So a lot of different things that you can do. The only thing that I find that you can't do easily is to put stitch-based fonts on an arc in Embird. You can do that easily with the built-in plugin alphabets, but as far as a stitch-based font, you can't put them on an arc easily. And just remember, a stitch-based font is just like any other embroidery design. And so if I put my Abby back in place, and this is a sketch design, and I will tell you that sketch designs do not resize well, and you can tell it's a sketch because there's actually spacing between these lines of stitches, so it's just a very thin fill. And so what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to select my 4 objects and only what? 1, 2, oh, I selected the wrong one. I'm going to select those 4 and I'm going to join them. And then I'm going to come over here and resize. And remember the rule of thumb, you should not resize more than 20%. So with a sketch design, I'm only going to resize this design 15%. And we're going to see what happens. So it's giving me a warning sign that this design has already been resized once. I don't remember resizing it, but I'm going to say go ahead, yes. And so now, do you see what happened to the bottom of my flowers, this one and the yellow one? It became more of a fill stitch. It added tons of stitches down there, and the letters look all okay, but the sketch design does not look right. And so I'm going to do an undo. And so I would not recommend resizing sketch designs. Now, as I said, the letters looked okay. So I'm going to do another undo to separate them. And I'll bring I could even put that word flowers back here, or I could have put it over here to change my design a little bit more. And so I could select all the letters. Since they're all together, I can just click the first one and then not have that in my selection, and I could join them. And then if I wanted to resize, I'd say maybe resize, let's try 130. So that's 30% more. And Embird has this thing when you type in numbers, it likes to add an additional 0. So right now it's saying I'm increasing it by 1300%, and I only want to do 130, so I have to remove a 0. So I've already resized this, but even though it says I resized it, my letters look fine. And so some designs you can get away with resizing more than 20%, and others you can't. So anyways, I will be going into more detail on resizing, and hope you enjoyed this video on using stitch-based fonts.